you got to think, man, if a guy like that is running these kind of parties with all these rich and powerful people, how many different worldwide decisions can be manipulated because of these people and the compromises you have on them?
Right.
It's really a brilliant thing to do.
Yeah.
From an intelligence perspective.
Yeah, it really is, man. And like this, the way that the world is shaping out now, and this like rise of Jew hate online is, and I think a lot of it's bots. You know, I think it's coming from every angle. You know, I think it's probably a lot of propaganda and bots coming from Iran, coming from Israel, Saudi. Who knows where it's all coming from? It's just such a confusing crock of shit on the internet. But like, you know, on one hand, they were able to pull off some incredible fucking operations. And, you know, on the other hand, we get mad. Now that it gets exposed, we get mad that they have their hooks in us, and the people that are in power, whatever the politicians are, the puppets, just like bend the knee to whatever they're doing. And it gets exposed when people like Tucker did that interview with Ted Cruz. Mm-hmm. And he had him on his heels the whole time. That was incredible. That was a fucking a biblical fucking interview with Ted Cruz, and that really like pulled the mask off, because like if that guy is explaining his position on Israel, being in Congress, and that's his number one thing that made him want to be a congressman, it's like, what are all these other people doing then? Like if there's all this money, and you can see the receipts, how much money they're being given by these lobbies. But like, how mad can you get because we let them do it? They're legally allowed to do it.
Yeah, you could be mad, but you really should be mad at the politicians.
Yeah,
the corrupt politicians, and how many of them there are. And like, look at the mayoral race, where they all were saying, "My first trip, I'm going to go to Israel."
Oh yeah, except for the dude, for what's his name? Won. He said he's going to stay in New York.
The communist. Oh. Yeah, he's like, "I'm going to take care of the Jews in New York." Boom, checkmate. That was it. That literally won it for him. Because everybody else was like, what are you guys talking about? Like, New York is fucked. Take care of this goddamn city. Why? What's this loyalty and allegiance to Israel from the New York City mayors? Mm-hmm. The people that are candidates for mayor? Yeah. Like, your number one concern is Israel? That seems odd. Unless you're getting a ton of money. Mm-hmm. You know? Unless they have some video footage.
Yeah. Yeah, the more I think about politics and just look at the news cycle every day, I just feel like I get dumber.
It's a dumb business. It's a dumb, dirty business.
It really is, dude.
Out of all the information that's getting disclosed, supposedly this administration, what do you have the least faith that we're going to come to
Epstein,
a conclusion?
for sure.
Epstein.
And I think it's because of Israel. I think when you really dig into Epstein, his entire network was Israel. It was clearly. Like Ehud Barak was the ex-prime minister and the ex-head of Israeli intelligence. Leslie Wexner was one of the most powerful pro-Israeli philanthropists. The whole organization was Israel. And I'm not saying it was all of Israel.
It was all an intelligence gathering and
it was targeting Americans. It was targeting American officials and the American president. Right. And the CIA does have interest in those targets too. Elements in the CIA does. Certainly they had help from the CIA, and certainly they had help from these other organized crime and intelligence operations. But you don't, like, so for example, Dan Bongino, the new, deputy director of the FBI, he recently had this clip that went all around where he said on camera that he had a source that he trusted deeply. And he's an informed guy. He was at a Fox News interview, and the source told him that Epstein was working for an intelligence agency in the Middle East. And I don't know which one, but someone in the Middle East. And to be fair, we all already knew this. We already know who he worked for. At least I think so. But I'm looking at, okay, Dan, so if this giant group of Jewish billionaires is running a sex trafficking operation targeting American politicians and business people and stuff, you think they're working with an Arab or Muslim nation in the Middle East? Like, you think that Leslie Wexner is devoting his entire life to philanthropies on behalf of Israel, but then he's going to work for Saudi Arabia when he's doing this trafficking ring?
Right. But if someone says to him that they're all working for a country in the Middle East, knowing he knows what that means, but not specifying, doesn't he kind of have to repeat it that same way?
Well, he also has to repeat it the same way because he won't get the job if he says Israel. Exactly. Because Israel has so much control over our government right now. And I'm not saying that all Jews are in on something. Clearly, internet. Thank you. Internet. And Joe is definitely not saying that.
Definitely not.
But the Israel's government is every bit as as vulnerable to the deep state effect as the American government. But I would argue that Israel's government is way more vulnerable to it because of the people that founded Israel and the way it was founded. It was founded in a modern time, much more recently, by it was a revolutionary founding. And I can totally sympathize with the Jewish desire to have that state. I get it. But because of the way that happened, the people that founded Israel were a bunch of organized crime figures in America, the Jewish mob, that were helping with money and with arms trafficking to get the guns there because they had to have guns. And it was the Rothschild banking family sending a whole bunch of money and getting the declaration in the first place. And then the people that were there, the three different organizations, the Irgun, the Lehi group, and the Haganah, those were the three paramilitary groups that fought to found Israel, and they're the heroes of Israel, which I understand the narrative that they're heroes, but when Israel was officially founded, they officially designated Irgun and Lehi as terrorist organizations because they had been bombing civilians. They'd been bombing British civilians. The first official act of terror before they changed the definition was the bombing of the King David Hotel, where these terrorists, these Lehi and Irgun terrorists, a bunch of different groups, the guy who planned that bombing later became the prime minister of Israel. They were bombing civilians. So when those are the groups that are fighting to found that nation, even if all the Jews there are wonderful people, the leadership is inherently composed of these people that have been deeply corrupt for all time.